Is your stream all sorted?
Should be. Good evening, folks. If you are watching after the fact, then please do feel free to skip ahead to qualifying as we get the rest of the drivers into the lobby and get the stream all ready to go. We'll be with you in a few moments.
Where you going? Oh, I'm just gonna get a quick drink. Be right back.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to APPF1 Tier 2 for tonight's dose of racing action. I'm Sumo, your commentator. I'm Sumo, your commentator this evening, and I'm joined, as always, by my amazing co-commentator, Ghost. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Bit tired, but I mean, we've got a Singapore race in Tier 2. We've gotta wake up.
Yes, yeah, we do. It's going to be a long one as we go around, and it's round number 7 then, and after a thrilling race at Silverstone, we make our way to Singapore for a race at the newly updated Marina Bay Street Circuit. This new layout is due to the construction of a new events venue, which has shaved off turns 16, 17, 18 and 19 of the circuit layout that you all would know from beforehand, making it a 19 corner track that may introduce a few more chances for some overtaking. 4.928 kilometres see us around a lap of the track, which despite its changes may still prove a challenge for the drivers, who I'm sure will be running close to each other and to the walls around this circuit. It's not too dissimilar from the circuit as we know it, Ghost, but do you think the changes are going to see a different approach from the drivers?
Yeah. I mean, they probably haven't had time to change their setups or anything, but certainly around turn 13 it's going to be very different, and they're going to have to get used to it. I wonder if anyone's going to turn and brake by accident. I wouldn't be surprised, but yeah, we'll see.
Yes, we will. And let's run you through the championship order then at the moment. Let's get that up, because normally I have it up and ready for me to go. I didn't today. Open it in browser so I can see it a little bit better. Right, let's see then. Krauser then is on 83 points, still at the top of the championship at the moment, and is in the session during qualifying, so not missing it this time around. With Jonathan only 10 points behind the Red Bull driver and closing in on him fast. Tia is then on 69 points, just 4 points behind. in the Aston Martin with Lawrence on 63. Then there's Muhiti, the next driver who is actually in the championship, on 53 points. And we have JBS Steve on 42. Then we have Mr. J-Man 37, Robsu 33, E-Waiters 26. Scott is on 24 points, and there's little Manny Man, Jacob Pasty, Sirocco, Palang, Womax, LB, Fragma, Watt, Lucas Seif, Socks, Wasted, Tito Man, Rutty Boy, Owen, RJ, and Dosey as your championship standings in the drivers. Let's go over to...
You're a little quiet, Sumo. I don't know if it's my end.
I'm a little quiet, am I?
Yeah.
Okay. That's strange. I will sort that in a second. Where's this? There we go. And then 125 points in for the Red Bull Racing team. Ferrari are closing in on 107 points, and they've got Aston Martin for company just 5 points behind on 102 points. And then we have the Williams Racing team. They're on 90 points. Then there's Scuderia AlphaTauri on 50. Then McLaren on 43. Alfa Romeo 42, 41 for the Haas team. Alpine Formula 1 team are on 31 points, with Mercedes on 28 as Lawrence sets the benchmark in these early parts of the session. I'll just see if I'm quiet on stream.
It's better now.
Better now. Okay, it might be because of where I was as in relation to my mic, but as long as people can hear me, then that's all that matters, really, I suppose. I mean, if you're watching the stream right now, I know Max Gamer is tonight for some Singapore jokes tonight. That was awful, terrible. Get out.
Well, Scott sets the pace, and then Wasted beats him by a tenth just straight afterwards, and then Muhiti blows them all out the water. The 1.5 second improvement, a 30.7. Last time we raced around Singapore with Muhiti in Tier 2, he was 10.5 seconds ahead of everyone else in the race, and then a safety car came out and he got a drive through and came last. So Muhiti bottle job. Could be back again today, but at the moment he's on provisional pole, and JB is 6/10 off him.
Yeah, JB not too far back with Palang now, 1 minute 31.04 on him. How about Krauser? It's a P4, so the second row occupied by the Red Bulls, but Tier comes along and splits the two of them. Tier and Krauser continuing to fight among each other as well. No Jonathan tonight, so actually a chance for Krauser to open up a bit of a lead and for Tier to reclaim P2. So we'll see how that goes. Robsu, here he comes. He's had a bit of an abysmal season. We were coming out of last season thinking Robsu will be a driver to watch, but he's sitting down, way down in the championship, way further than he probably would have liked to be, which is a shame, really.
Yeah, it is a bit. I was surprised because everyone had to submit time trial times, 3 time trial times to sort who would be in which tier. And I was surprised when Robsu submitted his, because they were slower than I thought they'd be. And I thought, it's probably just, teething problems with the new game, and by the time the season starts, he'll be right back where he was before. But it's seeming more and more like the times that he submitted were a real representation of his pace this season. He's just not a fan of this new game as much as he was of F1 22, it seems.
No, definitely, and it's seeming to reflect in his performance at the moment. And he's no bad driver by any stretch of the imagination, but he's just not had. It's not clicked with him this year's game, I suppose. It's just not happened. And well, speaking of this year's game, I suppose. How many times have we had LB in? Is this his first time back in Tier 2, or did he come back for another race at some other point? Because it's our defending, current Tier 2 champion, 2-time, of course.
Doesn't seem to really be defending it, though.
Not really defending it, no. He's... where is he in the championship? I didn't really get out at the moment. He's 16th.
Yeah, he's quite a way down. He
points.
has raced, I think, on 2 previous occasions this season, but he's been on holiday for most of the season. But hopefully this is the return of LB to regular racing in Tier 2, because that would be good.
Yes, it would. and he's just heading around on his out lap, last of the first runs going on. Everybody's sort of getting themselves ready for another run. I could see some action in the pit lane on the mini-map, but we'll take you through a lap around this new circuit at the moment. Well, in a few moments' time, I mean. Just as we wait for LB to get his lap started. Here we go then, slinging it round the final corner to come on to the main straight now. It's a short run to the line. There is the racing line. So starting the lap now as we go through. It's a quick shift down to fourth or third gear for LB in this instant, through this twisty little section of 3 corners. A little bit scrappy over that curb there. Some rust to dust off for LB as he comes into turn 4 now. Just a couple flicks down. He's down a few gears actually. This is probably not going to be the most competitive lap from LB. Not the most exciting one to watch. So perhaps just getting used to being back on the game at the moment. But it's not the most well put together as he finishes sector 1. It's a long run through that straight and even more scrappy there as well.
Yeah, I mean, LB, remember, got the game 3 months after everyone else because he was waiting for it to go on sale. But also, he's just not been up to scratch on this year's game. It's similar to Robsu, but I think even more extreme. LB's just not enjoying this year's game so far. But hopefully he'll be back on form next season to give us a real battle, but at the moment he's firmly sort of lower mid-grid this season when he does race.
Yes, he is, and he'll be dusting off a bit of rust and maybe getting some practice in over the time between now and next season, I'd imagine. So we'll move along. Jazz Deep Man in the chat saying go Williams. That's Mr. J-Man, of course, if anybody didn't know. Let's see. Let's find somebody else on the lap. A bit more of an exciting run around. Let's carry on with Muhiti then. So he's coming down. This is not turn... It is turn 5. It's a heavy braking zone down there. And then we get into a bit more twisty of a section. Now slow through this corner. And then up to 4th gear. Then down a couple of gears to just sling the car through. Carry as much speed as you can through there, and here's a little tight tricky section now. It's down into 3rd gear for Muhiti as he slings it through, and then quickly down to 2nd to just loop it round that corner, and then through this narrowing section towards the hairpin there, just over the bridge, and then onto the power as gently as you possibly can without losing too much traction going along, and then up into 7th gear, and then braking for turn 14, and then don't run out too wide, you will get penalised. And normally you'd be braking about here to turn in, but you're going to keep going straight as you go through into this corner, which is now turn number, I want to say that'll be 17, that's 18 there, and then out of 18 to come around. Let's see if Muhiti can further that benchmark at the front. It looks like he is going to. He is. It's a 30.2. He's looking very, very quick.
He certainly is. That is a long, long way ahead of everyone else from the Turkish driver. Palang 8/10 down, but Palang in P2 is pretty good going by his standards.
Second up, Ghost. He's coming around the final couple of corners in the Aston Martin. This could be a great lap from Tyr. It's going to see him up into P2.
That's much more like it from the former championship leader.
And
Crow's at
P3.
Yeah, it's the two main championship rivals that are on the grid today, going 2 and 3, but neither of them any sort of match for that lap from Muhiti.
No, Muhiti's done a great job out there. I will say I was on time trial just before this race. I think my fastest lap around here is a 29.5 or 7.
All right, show off.
So, I mean, Lifebout's set at 1 minute 27 point something. So, you know, he is the time trial merchant. Robsu 8/10 up. This could be a lap that sees him into the 30s. Can he nail the final few corners as he slings it around the final corner down towards the line? Not running too wide. It's P2 for Robsu.
Oh. It's getting closer out there. They're getting closer to Muhiti's time. That's much more like it from the Finnish driver onto the front row. Aston Martin 2-3. They're looking very strong here in qualifying A lot of drivers heading into the pits. Wasted was on a lap and he
Scott
went into
spun.
the
He
pits.
was 7/10 up through sector 2 and he spun on the run down towards that twisty section before the Anderson Bridge. Not a great run for Scott there, who finished on the podium out in Silverstone, if you remember back to last week, and what was an exceptional race for him.
It really was. It was an exceptional race all round, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, Scott onto the podium. Palang was on the podium as well. He's currently sitting P5 in his AlphaTauri. Is he on a lap? He is, but he's just hit the wall as I ride on board with him, so sorry about that, Palang. Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to improve this lap, as it looks like he's got damage to his wing as he in fact goes over the corner, proving that he does indeed have that damage.
Oh dear, not the best run for Palang in that moment. But he'll have a bit of time left, perhaps, if he can get that car back to the pits. He's got not too far to go now. There's a few less corners, so it'll be a shorter run. And in theory, the race will be shorter. I think lap times have come down. Normally a lap time around here about 1:30.
It's about 1:38 in the dry, something like that. So yeah, that time's come down quite a lot, and that will mean the race is shorter. I'm sure the number of laps might be a little bigger, or maybe not actually, because it's the same kind of distance, really. So
it's only
I'm not sure.
0.1 of a kilometre that's been shaved off.
Yeah. So it certainly probably won't be the longest race in terms of time on the calendar anymore, which is quite a difference that we'll have to get used to. But yeah, just a note, by the way, Sumo, Aston Martin currently P2 and 3. They're far from out of the Constructors' Championship here. They're only 23 points behind Red Bull, and Ferrari only 5 points behind them. So yeah, if they can get a good result here, Aston Martin could find themselves well in the fight for Constructors.
Yeah, they could, and it's going to be a good close fight to watch all the way to the end. Here comes RJ in the Haas. Can he improve on his time? A second improvement, but doesn't see him make up any places. Here comes JBS Steve in the Red Bull. He is on a outlap, beginning his what will be his final run, I think, unless he makes an error and goes around one more time. Scott, I think, just finishing a run. I don't think he's going to have time to go around again. He's got no ERS in that McLaren either.
Yeah, one thing you've got to keep on mind on this circuit is the marbles. If you even go slightly over the racing line, you're going to get marbles on your tyres, and they're really going to affect your grip quite a lot, and your braking performance as well. So you've got to make sure to take the right lines, but not stray too far from the racing line as to get marbles. You'll notice probably a lot of cars get marbles on the exit of turn 3, because it's very easy to get them there, because you're trying to get the inside line to shave off as much track as possible, but it puts marbles on your tyres because the game wants you to be on the outside.
Yes, it does, and the marbles are very much an issue around this track, and quite a testament to the physics engine of F1 23, it must be said, just to have that level of detail out there as well. I mean, it's hard to see the marbles, but you know you're getting them when you go off the line. But what can JBS Steve do in the Red Bull? He's currently sitting in P8. Can he get himself any further up the grid and be there with his teammate to challenge the two Aston Martins? Here he comes across the line. It's a 1:30.9, so he does join his teammate up there, but I think there'll be some major improvements from the rest of the grid. Tears out on a lap at the moment as well. Scott is invalidated his. I don't think Scott's going to be doing much more in this qualifying session, so we'll move over to Tier, who is currently down on his previous.
Yeah, and he locks up into turn 8 as well, which is not ideal for the Aston Martin driver, and he's going to be hoping that his championship rival, who's just a few corners behind, doesn't improve on this lap. If Tier does indeed not managed to improve this time. He goes over the curb there as well. We'll see what it's like as he comes across Sector 2. Crozer comes to the end of Sector 1 as well. Didn't quite catch if he was improving, but Tier coming to the Sector 2 line. Let's see if he's up or down. He is down by 700ths and locks up again into that right-hander, so he's going to need a mega Sector 3 to improve his time at all. Crozer is going to come to the end of Sector 2 as well, and he was 1.5 tenths up in Sector 1, so the championship leader looking to get one over on his rival in this quali session.
Yeah, or a bit of traffic perhaps for Tier, as there's a Williams just starting the lap. I think that's Muhiti coming along. Tier did not improve, and he's not going to have time to set another one. He probably should have backed off and tried to set another lap perhaps, but it would have been close as far as the time was concerned. LB is just ahead of Krauser. He's invalidated his lap, so what is Krauser up to in the Red Bull? Just 2 corners to navigate for him. Can he get himself onto the front row perhaps? Maybe even past Muhiti if he's managed to really hook a lap up round here. I don't think that's going to do it, but no, not quite improving enough to see himself ahead of Tier. So this is going to be marking the end of qualifying. Wasted, splits the 2 Red Bulls. Goes up into P5. That's not a bad lap from him. Who's coming across the line now is Lawrence. 3 tenths up. Comes through P2. Goes onto the front row. Does the reserve driver in the AlphaTauri. Not a bad showing there. Robsu is up on his previous by 600ths of a second and crosses the Sector 2 line. Goes up by a 10th. This could potentially see him take pole position if he can find the time in this final sector now.
Yeah, Palang was just about identical to his previous time through Sector 2. That was such a shame for Crozer. He lost about 1.5 in the final sector. So he could have gotten himself onto the second row, but not quite. So he has to settle for 5th. But it could be worse if Palang can improve. Robsu to pole! 30.1. What can Muhiti do, though, behind? He's coming to the line as well. He was a 10th up in Sector 2. Can he snatch it at the line? Yes, he can. A 30.0 from the Turkish driver. Tears coming into the pits, and Palang does improve to P5. Great final sector from him as well, and an exhilarating end to qualifying.
Yeah, that was incredibly exciting. Robsu just having it snatched away from him by Muhiti by that 10th of a second, and Muhiti really loving the streets of Singapore, taking pole positions for the Williams team, and it's been on a bit of an upward swing this season, I must say. We've seen a lot more of the better side of Muhiti this season. Not quite his championship, well, not winning, but, you know, his, at least constructors, but his top of the championship driving side. But he's definitely been back on some upwards form.
Yeah, he certainly has. It's been good. And I think most of the reason he hasn't been up there in the championship is because he's missed a couple of races, that's all. Yeah. If he'd made it to every race this season, I'm confident he would be right up there challenging Crozer for the championship lead. But here he is, taking pole position in Singapore, a prestigious award for him. But all the points come in the race. Now you run through the grid, Sumo.
Yeah, then Muhiti is your man on pole position, leading them around the streets of Singapore for tonight's race. Then Robsu lines up alongside him on the front row. He won't be bitterly disappointed about that, though. P2 is not a bad place to start in Singapore. Then we have Lawrence and Tier on row number 2. Then there's Palang and Krauser with the AlphaTauri acting as a bit of a blocker between the two rivals. Then there's Wasted, JBS Steve, Scott and RJ rounding off the top 10, with LB rounding off the back of the grid with tonight's 11 drivers. Muhiti back on top again, says Rick in the chat. It has been a while. It's nice to see Muhiti back up there and racing like a bit more like he's enjoying it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think the drivers are saying that it's dry all race long. So first race in Singapore in APP this season that hasn't had rain at some point. So we'll see what the strategy is like for the drivers. Who's going to start on the hards and who's going to start on the mediums. It's going to be very interesting. I wonder if anyone will gamble for the softs. We'll have to find out in due course. But Muhiti in a very strong position, and those top 3 in terms of qualifying time look to be a step ahead of the rest.
Yeah, well, we had a wet qualifying here in Singapore for Tier 1 on Friday. But that was, of course, a different layout. It was pre-update. No, post-update. No, pre-update. Pre-update. I got it right the first time, and then I messed it up the second time around. But no, pre-update with the 4 corners still there. But here we go then with 3, 4, 5 red lights for tonight's Singapore Grand Prix, and they're held not for very long as we go underway and racing as they head down towards the first corner. Mahiti's got away well. Robsu challenged by Lawrence at the moment, very close between the two of them. Side by side they go. Lawrence is the better run along. Looks like he's on the medium tyres, got a bit more grip. They're still side by side on the run down towards turn 4, but Lawrence just ekes ahead of the Aston Martin and gets himself into P2 as Palang is fighting along the back with Scott as well, and is Wasted, and Krauser and JB has dropped way down the order.
Yeah, it was a terrible start for JB. Got wheel spin off the line and dropped all the way to the back. There's contact. There's contact. Wasted into the wall. Scott's gotten a penalty, so it must have been Scott's fault, and he'll be very apologetic, I'm sure, about that one. Wasted with no front wing. We've got a virtual safety car, but Wasted has got a long way to get back into this. Let's have a look at tyres. Wasted starting on the hard, so he's going to have to transition to a 2-stop and hope for a safety car at some point. Scott, I think, Scott's the type of driver, as soon as the VSC comes in, he might let Wasted back through, I imagine.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Wasted's going to have to come in to repair that damage anyway, so I don't think it's going to be much of a difference. But Scott won't be too happy with himself that happened. But the virtual safety car out then before we can even complete a lap under green flags. It should be coming in a few moments' time, I'd have thought, while the marshals clear off any debris off the circuit.
There we go.
There we go, back under green flag racing. The invisible marshals have got themselves off the track. Has Wasted come in? He is coming in, yeah.
Yeah, he's got to.
It'd be silly not to.
Yeah, no front wing on the Alpine. He's going to need a safety car in this one, but it is Singapore, and I'd be surprised if there wasn't one. Muhiti filing through turn 3. He's got Lawrence for company, and then the 2 Aston Martins right behind, and Palang's gotten himself up to P5. That's a good start from him, with Krauser just behind him, the championship leader, looking to minimise the damage if he is going to finish behind Tier. Long way to go, but he does look to be struggling to get past that AlphaTauri, and we do indeed have 31 laps, so it is going to be quite a bit shorter, this. I'll work it out while you commentate.
Yes. What's it normally, 36 or 38?
It's normally 31.
30, it is all normally 31. Okay, then
yeah.
The same amount of laps then, but difference. Obviously, that little bit, that tiny bit shorter as we go through. But we've got a top 3. A fight between the top 4 cars for the lead of this race at the moment. Lawrence is chasing down Muhiti. Then there's Robsu and Tier just behind the 2 Aston Martins. Are they going to work together? Is there going to be some team orders between the 2 of them? They're ahead of their main rivals, Red Bull. So they're just going to have to try and hold station, perhaps. But Red Bull are going to be, Krauser at least is going to be wanting to try and get past Palang if he can. There's a little bit of fighting among the back markers as we go through. LB and Scott are getting stuck in and fighting, it seems, at the back. And Krauser's made his way past Palang. I think just got a better exit. I didn't quite see the move, but that must have been what happened.
Yeah, it must have been, because he had so much overspeed on the AlphaTauri when I looked about halfway down the straight, and Palang was nowhere near him at the braking zone. So, yeah, it must have been a terrible exit there for Palang out of that corner. Just worked out, Sumo, the race will be about 4 minutes shorter. So, not that much, but...
No, not that much, but every little helps, as they say, I suppose.
Yes.
But I'm sure the real F1 drivers would be a little bit more grateful that the race is that bit shorter, as it looks like Palang's struggling a bit as JB is going to go side by side with him through here. That's good for them to not have any major contact. There was a little bit of wheel banging between the 2, but JB managed to just get himself up through. The hard's not really working for Palang at this stage.
Yeah, that's brilliant stuff from JB, but Palang's going to have the DRS here. Is he going to make a move into the next corner? I don't think so. No, he's going to sit back and wait and be sensible on those hard tyres. Just needs to survive for now, and he'll be on the mediums later. But the fact that he's struggling this much on the hards is not ideal, because the hards actually aren't that much worse a race tyre than the mediums around here. Maybe for the first few laps, but I think if Palang doesn't get back on terms in terms of pace with the medium runners in the next few laps, he could be struggling for the whole race, as RJ is just behind him now as well.
Yeah, and Robsu looks to have dropped back from the top two. I think Tyr might be a bit frustrated by that. He'll want to have tried to challenge the top three. He's now got Krauser behind, who is going to not take too long to catch on to the back of this, I think. And I think Tyr is giving the hurry up to Robsu, and I think that might be some team orders perhaps, as Robsu didn't fight that one too hard to let through his teammate, who's now going to try and speed ahead after Lawrence, who has dropped back from Muhiti now. Actually, it's 1.2 seconds, the gap 1.3, so perhaps struggling around this circuit is the AlphaTauri driver, the reserve driver there. JBS Steve, meanwhile, is holding off Palang. He has a little bit of a look to the inside through there, but it doesn't really work unless you're already side by side into those corners, and even then it's a bit dicey coming through there, coming across the bridge.
Oh, that's very wide for JB though, and he's got no ERS either on that Red Bull. Palang will know that, and he's going to use his ERS to see if he can look for a move down the inside. He has a look, but he doesn't send it. But he knows that the Red Bull's vulnerable. JB seems to be really struggling for race pace around here, and here comes Palang now into this next section. Down the inside he goes, a new overtaking opportunity at this circuit thanks to the new layout. A bit of wheel bang as Palang goes over the curb. Just a bit of an incident there, you could say, but nothing really of that. But Palang, I'm sure, is going to find his way past this Red Bull pretty soon, because JB seems to be really not having a good time out there.
Yeah, no, nothing too egregious in that move. I think it was just it was a nice try, but there was no, it just wasn't quite meant to be on that occasion. But it does narrow a little bit there, so it is going to be a bit harder. It's not like the end of the second DRS straight, or I guess the third DRS straight, where you sort of come into a bit of a wider corner, turn 15 of course, but they'll still I think there can still be some overtaking opportunities. I'm surprised they didn't put a DRS zone there actually.
Yeah, I mean, Palang really clattered over the curb, so that's what made that happen. But I think they were going to put a DRS zone there in real life, but they haven't done it in the game. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But yeah, Palang right in the back of JB. It seems like those hards are into effect now, but JB is really not having a good time on the circuit. He seems to be wide at so many corners. He's already 3 seconds behind his teammate. And by the way, Robsu has already gotten the first track limits penalty of the evening, and that's not good prospect for the Aston Martin driver for the rest of the race.
Yeah, it's quite easily done around here actually. You'd think it would be harder to get penalties during a street race, but there's where you'd be wrong. Here's one corner, of course. If you run that a little bit too wide coming through this high-speed left-hander that finishes off the lap, then you will get yourself a time penalty. And even through this twisty little bit, and well, the first 4 corners really are places you can get yourself a track limits violation. And then even out of turn 5, there's another one. Yeah, and I guess exit of the hairpin and exit of 15 as well are places that you most likely see time penalties. I don't think there's any more ones that come up often, at least. Scott has got himself past LB. LB tried to defend the inside there, and Scott just took the race in line, went round the outside, got the job done before the braking zone.
Yep. Good job from Scott there. And yeah, you're right, there's so many places to get a track limits penalty. There's many corners where you don't have a wall immediately on your right hand side when you come out the corner, and it can be easy to just go a little bit over and go over the white line. Robsu is still on those hard tyres and sticking just in the DRS of his teammate. That's what he needs to do, because they need to streak away from Crozer if Robsu wants to get rid of that 3-second penalty meaning anything. It's currently 2.5 seconds. It was 1.9 about a lap and a half ago, so it is going up quite a lot. But Robsu, a big moment there on the exit, and that's out of DRS range for the run to turn 1. So I think Robsu could start to struggle here. These hard tyres not serving him well, but remember, he's going to be on the mediums in the second stint, and hoping that there isn't an early safety car at some point.
Yeah, I think Mahiti might have had a little bit of a moment. I didn't quite see it, but Lawrence has closed that gap again. He's hunting him down. He's in the DRS. Did he get it on that lap? No, he's not got a lot of battery, though. Neither of them have a lot of battery, actually. But this is reminding me of back in the days of Season 6 when it was Mahiti and Pommy Alex. And I think Lawrence was up there on occasion as well. Those three fighting away. So I'm sure Lawrence will be also happy to see Mahiti toward the front, as they had some great battles during the course of that season. But looks like RJ Blair's joined the party toward the back. It's Scott, LB and RJ fighting over P8, and just ahead of them is JBS Steve and Palang. They're having a little scrap over P6, and as JB is struggling a little bit with this circuit and the lack of ERS as well.
Scott getting his way past RJ must have been a mistake from the Haas, because that's not a place where you can overtake. LB into the back of RJ, and there's a bit of front wing that just came off of the Alfa Romeo, so he's going to have to pit, I think. There's no way he can take that car around Singapore at any discernible speed without a front left end plate. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there.
No, I think RJ was going quite slowly through there, maybe trying to let LB through, but it's not really the place to let somebody through around this track, or perhaps LB was just caught out with the speed that RJ was going and went into the back of him quite narrowly, but LB does come into the pit. RJ pits as well. RJ might have a little bit of damage on his own car, actually. He may have hit the wall at some stage, but your closest fight on circuit at the moment is between Palang and JBS Steve. He's got the DRS. Is JB going to defend it? No, JB sticks to the racing line. Palang just slips down the inside, gets the job done, and gets himself ahead of the Red Bull, who may look to come back at him, but he's not got much to fight with. That ERS deficiency is really going to affect him.
Yeah, great stuff there from the Canadian driver, as Wasted and RJ side by side nearly as RJ comes out the pits. Wasted will be happy to have a car nearby him again after driving on his own for the first 8 laps after the contact early on, but he's going to have the DRS, and he's going to use the ERS as well, try and get past this Haas early on. RJ on the hard tyres, and Wasted down the inside, brakes late. Very nicely done from the Alpine. RJ a bit squirrely on the exit, but Wasted up to P9, and he'll be happy to be fighting again and not on his lonesome.
Yeah, and he'll hope that at least the others will sort of come in, and then maybe a safety car will come out at the perfect time for him to... Oh, he's out!
Binned it.
He's out! He's binned it!
He's binned it! That was all his own doing. There was nothing RJ could do about that. They were nowhere near each other. It was definitely just Wasted binning it, from my POV anyway.
Yeah,
and
he
that's
just
such
gave
a shame.
Just too much through that section, and the rear just stepped out on him, and he sent him straight into the barrier. That is not the way he would have wanted to continue this. And well, I was talking about the safety car coming out, and it looks like I summoned its presence at that very moment, as we have a safety car now.
Yeah, here it is. So it's decision time for those on the mediums and indeed those on the hards. Are they going to transition to a 2-stop, or are they going to go hards to the end? It's a difficult choice, actually. RJ gets a time penalty on his way into the pits, which is not ideal. He also got a 5-second penalty for the collision with Wasted, even though he was nowhere near him, which, you know, Codemasters at their finest. But he'll be able to serve that in the pits at least. But yeah, he'll be hoping to get back with the pack as quickly as possible, because the safety car has a tendency around this track to come in early.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that do you pop on another set of mediums and then hope maybe another safety car comes out and you pop on some soft tyres for the end, or Do you pop on some hards and do the same thing? Or perhaps you pop on some hards and another safety car comes out in the middle of the race and you've got some mediums, they're fresh as well. I mean, that's more of an option for the hard runners at the moment. But it's a tricky decision. But Muhiti peels in, Lawrence is peeled in as well. Tier in the pit lane, he's got a time penalty under his name, so both Astons with penalties. Robsu stayed out. No, what?
Yeah, he's on the hard tyres.
He's on the hards, yeah.
Yeah, so he stayed out. So go for it again. The rest
stayed out.
Yeah, he has. Also on the hards. The rest are going to come in for the hards, and they're going to go to the end on those hards, but Robsu and Palang will hope that they have the pace to negate that extra pit stop that they're going to have to make after the safety car comes in. But yeah, LB out on the mediums, RJ out on the mediums as well. They're going to be on 2 stops because the mediums can make it, but is it a good idea? That's another question. So, yeah, Lawrence down to P4, Muhiti down to P3 as a result, and this is going to be some interesting racing as those on fresher tyres try to get past those at the front.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. There's a big shift in there. Everyone opting for the hards then, so perhaps they're going to either go onto the mediums or the softs, depending on what the strategy does, or try to go to the end if they can. I wouldn't bet against another safety car coming out just because it is Singapore, and if somebody does bin it, there is a high chance of a safety car. I mean, we don't run red flags, so we don't. There'll be no chance of that. But yeah, we're just waiting for everybody to group back up now.
Yeah, indeed. I have a word from Wasted, by the way. I messaged him in Discord after his crash, and he says that he hates this track with a passion, and he's glad to be dead. Wow. He said he raced it last week, and it was full wet. He's not used to no traction control yet, and this week, this horrible track, and I'll live, he said. So hopefully he'll be back again next week. It was such a shame to see him crash out on his own last week in Silverstone as well, after that incredible quali that he had. Yeah. But yeah, he'll be back next week in where are we next week? I can't remember now, but wherever it is.
Austin? I want to say it's
yes, Austin, that's it. He'll be back for Austin next week, and hopefully he'll have a decent race.
Yes, hopefully so. I don't think I'm going to be here for Austin, unfortunately.
Okay.
I am indisposed.
Oh, good.
But I'm sure you will do a good job. But I'll be back for the final 2 rounds, so there's no major dramas. But
indeed.
Yeah, everybody just filtering around. We're waiting for the likes of LB and RJ to get back. RJ will be happy. RJ actually, he was on the mediums and then he came back in to chuck the hards back on. He was only, I think he'd only just put the hards on, so they're only like 1 lap old. So you know, they're about the same age as the drivers who came in already. So not too bad from RJ. And of course, if he wanted to go to the end now, he could. He's had 2 different compounds on, so he does have some fairly fresh mediums as well. I think these mediums are only 2 laps old. So yeah, he's got some options.
Yeah, exactly. Probably a good decision from RJ. As long as the safety car doesn't come in without him this lap, he should be able to catch back up to the pack and be back in this race. But yeah, everyone going to bunch up, and it's bad news for the Aston Martins because they've both got a 3-second track limits penalty. And of course, the more the pack is bunched up, the more those penalties are going to matter, which is good news, of course, for the Red Bulls.
Yes, it is, and well, they're split at the moment, but Robsu, I don't know, was staying out a good idea. I mean, they'll be able to quickly sort of catch up through the field, especially if the race goes uninterrupted over that time. But of course, there's, well, it's only lap 11 of 31. There's still plenty of action left on the cards. It looks like the safety car is going around again, so we'll continue watching RJ on his campaign to catch up to the back of the grid. He should do it, perhaps, maybe about the time they reach sector 3. I don't know how quickly he's catching fairly quickly, actually. He's only about a sector behind, I'd have said.
Yeah, he should be able to catch up in theory. And yeah, especially with that reprofiled sector 3, I think he should be fine to catch up before the end of the track, and safety car should be in this lap as a result. I'm pretty sure that penalty he's got on his person is not valid, so presuming he's interested enough in where he finishes in this race he's reserving in to get that penalty removed, we should ignore it in the comms box.
He just had a bit of a venture off the circuit at turn 1, 2 and 3. Perhaps just gave it a bit too much catching up. You won't want to be going too hard on those tyres though, mind, because he'll need some of that wear for the race when we do get restarted again. So perhaps a bit more lift and coast, perhaps there's a bit more tyre wear, but he's only about 2 corners behind now as we continue watching him try to catch up to the pack. Yeah, he should be there by the time they reach turn 15, 16, I think.
Yeah, he's just coming up to the old Singapore sling chicane. And there we go, he's pretty much caught up now, and we should see the message. There we go, safety car in this lap. RJ just coming to the hairpin. Hopefully he can catch up before the end, because he will have a limiter on that car, but he can see the Alfa Romeo just ahead at the end of the straight, and he will be back in this race. So everyone on the lead lap bunched together, and Robsu decides when to punch it. He's going to be fighting with Palang, of course, but he doesn't want to fight too hard with Palang because they are in each other's race, but he's really going to be thinking about the cars behind.
Yes, he is, and more importantly, the Red Bulls, is that Aston Martin are fighting them, but he's got from about now, Bernd Marlander's pulled the safety car into the pit lane, so he's waiting and waiting. I think he's going to go as late as he possibly can, try and catch him out. He's gone, there he goes, and he has caught Palang napping a little bit and opened up that gap already. Anybody on the attack from the off? Here we go, Lawrence is having a little bit of a look, perhaps Muhiti just defending there at the moment. There's LB making a move on Scott, getting himself down the inside. These three continuing their battle as we restart this race.
Yeah, indeed, LB on the better tyres at the moment, but Scott under pressure from RJ as well for P9. So these three are going to keep having their fascinating battle for P8.
Here comes Muhiti. He's looking to the outside of Palang. He's not got anywhere else to go. Just backs off out of that. Doesn't really have the best go around it. Doesn't have to drive out of the corner. They're all sort of too close together there for the time being. But DRS will be activating in a couple laps time, and maybe we'll see something. Palang struggling a little bit. Muhiti just having a little look to the inside, isn't he? Palang goes deep through there. That's going to invite Muhiti to perhaps have a go. They'll just have to be patient and wait for the mistake, wait for the opportunity to go. Maybe even get him on the exit here. Oh, Palang spins, or not quite spins, but loses it, and he's going to plummet.
Yeah, he's just ahead of JB, so those two are going to continue their battle from earlier on. But yeah, Palang all the way down to P6. Crozer now with a 3-second time penalty, and that's going to be critical as the race goes on. How many more of those are we going to see, I wonder? But both Aston Martins and Crozer now on a 3-second time penalty as Robsu holds everyone up. Lawrence looks to the inside of the final corner, can't quite make it there, but Muhiti is right behind this Aston Martin as JB goes into the pits, in fact.
Yeah, into the pits for JB. This has livened up the fight. Tears suddenly back in the game after all of that time, as well as Krauser. So this is quite the interesting fight for the lead of the drivers at the moment. I think Robsu's just slowing them all down. He's the cork in the bottle, as they say. Muhiti's looking very, very quick, trying to find a way through, using as much of his ERS as he can. Robsu's not really defending this one. He's left the inside open, but he's going to fight it all the way through the corner. Side by side they go now. Robsu on the inside for the next part. Side by good racing between them. Not too much contact that. Lawrence trying to get involved now. Here, down the inside of Lawrence. This is 4 cars fighting through the streets of Singapore. Amazing stuff.
Brilliant racing, and Lawrence down the inside of Muhiti now for the former Singapore Sling. He makes the move down the inside. Wonderful move from Lawrence, and now he's going to be able to rob zero. Mistake from Muhiti as he concedes the position to Tier as well. Crozer looks to the inside of the hairpin, but backs out just in time. But Muhiti down to P4 in 2 corners, and he's going to be gutted with how that's transpired.
Yeah, that was not the way he would have wanted it to go. He just had a little bit of contact with Lawrence. As he went for the move, this right rear hit Muhiti's front left, and here's Tier challenging Lawrence now. It could be 3 wide as Lawrence goes down the inside of Robsu, gets the move done, but Robsu's going to come back at him. Tier's going to go down the inside as they come through to the final corner now. Robsu doesn't let up though, doesn't let his teammate through, but runs very, very wide. Muhiti now very close to the back. It's going to be 3 wide, is it? Into the first corner, it's not, but his cars trying to find their way through. Muhiti down the inside now of the other Aston Martin. Side by side they go through the first 3 corners, and as we're hitting up onto the podium.
Oh, what amazing racing between these top drivers. Tier now going to be chasing after Lawrence, but that's going to be a difficult gap to close down. Crozer nearly hits the back of Robsu through turn 5, and he's going to have the DRS now down towards the next couple of corners. Can Crozer make the move around the outside? We've got Muhiti and Tier swapping places as well. Muhiti back up to P2 as he now chases after Lawrence for the lead of the race. But that's huge for Lawrence that he could get past that before it all kicked off. But Robsu just about staying ahead of Crozer for now, but he's really struggling on those 14-lap-old hard tyres. Surely he's going to be in soon.
Yeah, I think the safety car was just what we needed. It's just livening this race up a little bit, added a bit more in there. Oh, Palang went round. He had a bit of a half spin, and he collected a car with him. He's in the barrier now.
Oh, Palang, it's gone all wrong,
Virtual.
And it's a VSC as well. So Palang's going to have to get that wing changed, but that neutralises the race a bit, and Muhiti about 1.5 seconds behind Lawrence when that came out. So we'll see if he can catch up to the AlphaTauri, but he's looking for a win. Tier's in P3. He's doing a fantastic job in that Aston Martin. He's 2 places ahead of his championship rival, but Robsu still has to pit. Surely Robsu will take this opportunity and pit this lap.
Yeah, he's got to. It would be silly not to, I think. Put on a set of mediums and fight his way through. Yeah, in he comes.
Yeah, he's in.
Peeling in.
So he's got, well, quite a lot of time to find in these remaining 15.5 laps, but he's going to try and find it as best he can. Scott up to P6 as a result of that. Palang in as well to change his front wing, of course. JB will have been desperate for that to be a full safety car, but it's not, and that's just going to mean he's even further behind, because those who haven't stopped can safely stop and come out still well ahead of him thanks to the Delta, but it should be ending soon, I would have thought, and Lawrence is going to try and get the jump on his rival for this race win.
Yes, he is, but Muhiti has looked very quick, but so is Lawrence as we go along. There's 5 people watching so far. Please do make sure you've left a like on the stream, of course, if you're enjoying everything. DRS enabled once more, and we are back under green flag racing, and there's a bit of a fight between Palang and JB a bit further back. The 2 drivers toward the back who have pitted. I think Palang just came out the pits ahead of JB, so they'll be fighting along the back, but we're interested in this fight toward the front. Can Muhiti close that gap? Can Tier hold off Krauser? These 2 racing, of course. We'll have a look at the penalty situation. It's 3 seconds for positions 3, 4 and 5. That's Tier, Krauser and LB. Then there's 6 seconds for RJ Blair. Then there's 3 seconds for Robsu in the other Aston Martin. So there's 5 time penalties out there on the grid. Well, 5 drivers with time penalties out there on the grid at the moment, and the 2 championship rivals are, well, following one after the other.
They are indeed. Lawrence could come into the championship fight as well as a reserve driver. I don't know if he's going to want to as a reserve or if he'll back out towards the end of the season. But JB has the DRS on Palang but can't quite make the move. He looked to the outside of turn 6 but couldn't get the move done. Just squeezed out of road on the outside, and he's going to have to live to fight another day. And in fact, Palang seems like the faster driver at this point, which is unsurprising given the pace difference between them in the first stint.
Yeah, Palang has had a bit of a better one. as far as pace is concerned, but he's just been a bit unlucky with some incidents. The car just sort of slid on that previous occasion, then he made some contact with some cars behind because of the close proximity, and then it was just all downhill from there, and he lost his front wing. He'll be thankful that he's not too far out of this race, but Krauser a little bit deep there. That wasn't the exit he would have wanted. He's got the advantage thus far. He's in the DRS. Tier's not too close to Muhiti. He's actually dropping time to Muhiti, who is slowly closing in on Lawrence, but Lawrence, he knows how to lead a race, and he's managing that gap fairly well, but it's sort of sitting on the edge of that sort of 1 second gap at the minute. It's coming down. It's 9/10 now. Will Muhiti get DRS as they come down the start-finish straight? We'll see in a few moments. Perhaps the four of them will spark up a fight, but there's a virtual safety car.
I'm not sure what that's for. Has anyone crashed? Did RJ crash, maybe? Yeah, he's got no front wing, so the Haas must have binned it into the wall, unfortunately. So he's going to have to come in. That will be a place gained for Robsu, but this VSC will not help him because he needs as much green flag racing time as possible to catch back up to the pack. He's 13 seconds down on the rest of the pack, and he's got quite a bit of time to make up as RJ peels in to replace that front wing, and he's going to come out probably right with that battle with Palang and JB, which is going to be interesting for what's going to be P8. Yeah, Muhiti now definitely seems like the fastest driver on track this race, and he's going to try and prove it and get close to Lawrence into that DRS range.
Fido Man saying in the chat, another race of mysterious power outages. That is a shame, mate. It's always nice to have you out on the track, but it's been going quite well so far. Muhiti has been fighting away with Lawrence. He started on pole.
Oh, RJ with a drive-through
as well. He's got a drive-through now too.
That's such a shame. He has come out just ahead of that battle between Palang and JB, but he's going to have to come in again and hope for a safety car later on as Palang gets past. I think he's just going to let them, he's letting them by. He knows he's got a drive-through, doesn't want to fight them. That's very respectful driving from RJ as Palang and JB continue their battle as a result, and Palang gets himself a track limits penalty to boot as well, which is going to be good news for JB as Muhiti 1.4 behind Lawrence now, so he's dropped a little way behind, and I'm just going to keep an eye on that gap between Robsu and Scott for you, Sumo. It's 14.2 seconds on lap 18.
Yes, so Robsu on a charge to catch back up. Scott's not had a bad race. It's been a quite quiet one for him, but he's been fighting with LB for the majority of it. Meanwhile, I think Tier gained a bit of time under the VSC, and that's invited him to have the DRS on Muhiti, so that's going to help him keep Krauser behind. Scott's got himself ahead of LB in the meantime. Looked like he sent a move to the inside of turn 1, made it stick, and got himself up into P5. And if he can get close enough to the likes of Tier and Krauser, he may even find himself on the podium again, which will be great for Scott.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that would be fantastic if he can manage it, but he's got a lot to do to make that happen. He's going to have to hope for some misfortune ahead of him, I think, but not impossible by any means. And yeah, you were right, Sumi. He just went down the inside of LB, a simple move into turn 1. As RJ, by the way, he binned it again. He was too deep into that corner at the end of the back DRS straight, and had to reverse out and come back in. So he's just serving that drive through now, and yeah, he's going to be desperately hoping for a safety car before the end of this one. Muhiti, though, by the way, 1.06 seconds, but Lawrence has got 50% more ERS in the tank, so Muhiti burning it all to catch up, but he's not going to have any once he gets there to be able to overtake.
Yeah, it's not helping him. I think he needs to just try and save some ERS and just sort of stick with him. I think he might be a bit too... Whoa, that was a bit shaky. Just a little bit of the rear end just steps out on Muhiti. That'll invite Tier back into his DRS, and that will open up that gap to Lawrence once again. I think he's just pushing a little bit too hard in that Williams. I think he's a bit too worried about the cars behind him and not as focused on the car in front of him as he should be, because he's got the pace around here. He's had the measure on everybody around the circuit. I mean, if I take a look at the fastest lap at the moment, that might help us. Muhiti has the fastest lap. It's 34.0. Nobody else has really got much closer than that. Robsu 34.2, so 2/10 as he Palang now goes fastest, 33.3.
Yeah, on those fresher medium tyres. RJ went round again. He's 2 corners away from being lapped, is the American. He had a really good start to this race, but it's all unravelled in the second half, unfortunately for him. He's going to be desperately hoping for another safety car in this one. Tia still right in the back of Muhiti. He's still really catching Lawrence in the slow sections of the track, I think. But when it comes to the high-speed corners, Lawrence has the edge. And it's showing in how the gap progresses, but it's just teetering on the edge of that 1 second range, and Muhiti just gets a bit too trigger happy with that ERS whenever he sees the gap come down. And on acceleration, Lawrence is better anyway, so Muhiti I think would be better off just saving his ERS, because he's at the moment losing a lot of power down the straight, and he's going to be vulnerable to Tia before long.
Yeah, he is, but Lawrence has found a reason to use some more ERS, I think, to try and make up for his slower speeds through the slow speed section. Tia has dropped Krauser. Krauser's not in the DRS for the time being. He's just sort of outside of it, teetering on again. Tia is putting a challenge toward Muhiti, which might hamper his progress towards Lawrence, but Lawrence currently got a nice cushion to just control the race, keep the drivers behind him at bay for now, but Muhiti has been looking very fast, and I think if you can be fast in those slower sections, that's when you're really going to make up the time through here, because that's the majority of the circuit.
Yeah, indeed. Muhiti is just so much faster through the apexes of corners, but Lawrence has the much better acceleration out of the corners, it seems. So it's going to be hard for Muhiti to get past him at any point, but he is now within 6/10, and in fact trying to drop Tia at the same time. He's just keeping with them, trying to pressure both of them into a mistake so he can maybe win this race if something happens in front. But at the moment he's still sitting there in a podium position, but he's got to be wary of Scott, because Scott's only 2 seconds behind Crozer. As it stands, he is in range to get a podium here, and he's really seems to be coming alive on this circuit in the final third of this race.
Yeah, he is. I think he can smell the blood in the water, Ghost. These four are close to each other, and well, they're slowing each other down in effect. The dirty air's affecting them, and it's inviting Scott, who is, you know, look, he can see them ahead of him on the track. He can see the back of Krauser's Red Bull, and is thinking, I could get myself back on the podium here. This would be it'd be a good day for the reserve drivers. A double podium for reserve drivers, if that was the scenario. But Lawrence is he's getting Muhiti's catching him. Muhiti is maybe listen to my advice, trying to save some ERS, but it's hard to harvest round here, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's very difficult. Once you've used it, it's difficult to get it back. But Lawrence as well, he's running low on it. He's been trying to gap Muhiti and keep that gap up, but it's cost him quite a bit of ERS. He's only got 30% left, and he tags the wall there on the exit of turn 7 as Muhiti approaches very, very quickly, but Muhiti 16% compared to Lawrence's 30%, so there's still some ERS to defend with for the AlphaTauri, but Muhiti definitely smells blood here and is going to be looking to get this win. There's still 9.5 laps left in this race, as there's yellow flags. That's Palang, and Kroos is out! Kroos is out of the race!
How does that happen? He's crashed at the Anderson Bridge. He's just given it a bit too much.
How has he managed that? The championship leader crashes out of the race. Tia now is in P3. We've got a virtual safety car. It's a full safety car. I can see it on the mini-map. Full safety car. And that brings Scott onto the podium on penalties. But Crozer, what happened? What on earth happened? I'm sure we'll find out in the chat. But, well, Jonathan said don't crash. And it seems like he jinxed it.
Yeah, he did. Well, I think he must have just given it a bit too much coming through that twisty section. It's easily done. And then the car just went into the wall. And that's it. Terminal damage. You know, breaks the suspension. The wheel snaps off. And that's it. That's your lot. Everyone in.
That is a pivotal moment in this championship.
Scott on softs.
Scott going for softs to the end. That's a bold call by the McLaren driver. Is anyone else going to follow him? LB does the same. Robsu, what's he going to do in the Aston Martin? He's changing his front wing, but Robsu will be back in this race. He's going for the mediums. I think that is the better tyre. The softs will be better for a few laps, but I think the mediums are going to be better overall. The softs are just going to run out of steam fairly quickly. But yeah, safety car out, and well, long way to go in this one, clearly.
JB and RJ. RJ will be happy he's not been lapped. He'll be able to catch back up.
Yeah, for sure. So very, very interesting difference in strategy here. But the championship leader out of the race, Tier was... Well, Jonathan was 10 points behind, so he'll remain 10 points behind Crozer. Tier was 14 behind, and as it stands, Tier would get 14 points. So if it ended like this, well, minus the penalty, of course, if it ended like this, Tier and Crozer would be level on points at the top of the standings. But that's not all, because Lawrence would get 20 points, and he'd also be on 83 points. So he'd have 3 drivers on 83 points if it ended like this.
Wow. 3 of them tied at the top with the ever-present threat of Jonathan not too far behind. I mean, he'll lose out some points because he's not competed today, but there's still 3 races to go, so there's still plenty of opportunities to score, and this Drivers' Championship is just heating up more and more and more, and it will affect the constructors as well, as Aston Martin will inevitably close their gap on Red Bull, and well, Ferrari aren't here to score, so they'll open it up to Ferrari. So we could see, Ghost, a final round showdown.
We could well do, and well, Jonathan's there as well to take the title. He's only 10 points down, and oh, that is such an important moment. Crozer was going to keep a significant championship lead. After this race, he would have been 12 points ahead of Tier as it stood. But now he's out of the race, not going to score any points, and it's a massive opportunity for Tier and Lawrence to gain points here in this battle.
Yeah, it is. It's... Well, what Tier's got to do... He's got to contend... Well, he's got to contend with that 3-second penalty is what he's got to do. He's got to try and open up that gap if he can, and stop Scott from getting ahead of him, or hope Scott gets a penalty. Scott will be trying his hardest not to, but he's on those soft tyres. They'll be good for a couple of laps, but then they're just going to fall off, I think. I think if the safety car came in about, well, let's say, if the safety car came out maybe on lap 25, then softs probably would have been a good call. But I think it's just a couple 2 laps too early.
Yeah, it's very tight, but I do think the mediums will be the better tyre overall. But it's going to be interesting to see. Scott and LB, of course, they haven't... Well, LB certainly hasn't been on pace with the front runners this race, but Scott, in the last few laps, has shown some real pace. So... I wonder what he could do in that McLaren. Robsu, of course, on the mediums, he's in P6, and he'll be looking to fight his way back up as well. Palang, don't forget about him. He's shown some pace today as well. JB, I think, will just, based on the pace he's shown today, will just be hoping to get to the finish, because at the moment, Red Bull are going to lose a lot of points to Aston. It's not just the drivers that this affects. It's a huge impact on the constructors' fight as well.
Yeah, one less car to score points. I mean, Robsu's not as high up as he'd like to be. Safety car in, so it looks like RJ is going to be left out in the cold. All on his lonesome as we get this race started once again. Lawrence is going to be your effective safety car. This is the second one. I said we'd have another one. I'm glad that I put my money in the right place. I don't actually bet on these races. That would be silly, but you know, if I did, I'd be quids in as we go. But Lawrence just weaving, getting the warmth into those medium tyres. You can see the marbles on the tyres too during all this weaving. But when is he going to go? He's got to try and catch Muhiti napping.
RJ's caught up.
Muhati's ready. He has caught up. I think Lawrence was just waiting for RJ perhaps, which is very nice of him. But here we go. What's going to happen? There goes Lawrence. He's got it underway, and I think Muhiti stayed with it. But Tier's been a bit more sharp on the start. He's going to challenge all the way. Side by side they go into the first corner. Tier down the inside. He's got this restarted perfectly for him. Can he get past the Williams? Oh, Muhiti's got the better line as he gets a better exit through. They're still side by side. It's Muhiti down the inside. A little bit of contact between them, but not quite into the wall. But Muhiti just about defends it.
Goal, that could have been very, very bad for Tier, but Muhiti just about holds on, but he's lost a lot of time to Lawrence as a result. It's perfect for the AlphaTauri driver as Tier tries to get past, but he's got Scott just behind, and that time penalty is really going to cost Tier as it stands. I think JB will go off the pack at the end, and in fact I think he's just had a collision with RJ. RJ's out of the race. Is that going to be another safety car perhaps? Doesn't look like it. So we carry on with 8 drivers left. RJ out the race. I don't know quite what happened there, but Palang and JB lost a lot of time, so perhaps a 3-car collision there. But Muhiti already back nearly within a second of Lawrence, but again using a lot of ERS to do it.
Yeah, that move between Muhiti and Tier, that had Sprint Championship Season 4 Baku written all over it. Almost there. That was very, very close to a repeat of some prevalent APPF1 history that may or may not include myself. But Muhiti closing back up again seems to have found some pace with these fresh mediums, and they've all had a chance to get some battery life back into their cars, and they'll have to use it wisely in these closing stages of the race to try and make those passes count where they can. Scott hasn't been able to get those softs up to full effect, and I don't really think they're doing much favours for him.
No, and they're going to be doing even fewer favours for him in the next few laps as they start to wear down. LB keeping track of him for now, but Robsu losing a lot of time behind these two. And obviously with that 3-second penalty, he's going to lose even more, and could lose out to JB as well, who's just got to stay with these guys, and he could gain quite a few positions on penalties alone. Could the Red Bull driver, but he has a bit of a slide out of that corner and struggles to... He's really struggling with this circuit, JB. He's just going to be hoping to see the checkered flag, I think.
Yeah, not quite his cup of tea, this track. This is one of my favourites personally. It's a great little street circuit. My favourite street circuit on the calendar, in fact. It's such a great challenge to race around here. You need such concentration, almost as much as you do for Monaco, but Monaco is just an absolute beast, I suppose. It just throws you corner after corner after corner. Tier with another penalty! That's going to see him off the podium.
It's going to see him further down than that. That's a huge mistake from the British driver as, well, yeah, he's going to drop all the way down to 7th place as it stands, thanks to that extra penalty. And, well, that could be crucial as well in terms of the championship. Muhiti still wants to win this race. He's only got 30% ERS, though, compared to Lawrence's 70. Palang now sets the fastest lap on the soft tyres. He will likely keep it. But Lawrence coming through turn 3 and down towards 4 and 5. There's yellow flags again. I think that's Palang round. Yes, it is. The AlphaTauri down to P8 as a result. But Muhiti right on the back of Lawrence.
Yeah, here we go. He's going to look to it. Lawrence doesn't defend the inside. Muhiti down there, but he's got the outside line, I think, which is the more favourable one. And Muhiti just unable to go through. The door was closed. The gap was too tight for him to come through. Tears sniffing at the back of that Williams, trying to make some headway. This is inviting Scott into the fray. LB and Robsu, meanwhile, they're fighting a bit further back from the front runners, and it's very close between all of the top 5.
Yeah, Robsu desperate to make some progress. He is going to get ahead of Tier as LB goes deep into the hairpin, and Robsu down the inside. Lovely opportunistic move from the Aston Martin. He's up to P5. Is LB going to go for it down the inside? He looks to the inside. He does go for it to the inside of this corner. Surely there's contact. Yes, there is. LB clatters over the curb. It was always going to happen there. Going through there side by side. And is there damage on the Aston Martin? No visible damage, but surely there's some minimal damage to that car, because that was quite a hefty hit into the wall.
Yeah, the two of them just coming together there is a bit more. I don't think Robsu was quite expecting it, or at least LB was unable to get it slowed down as much as he would have liked to, but the battle's still going to continue. I think it was a bit rough, but I don't think there was much wrong with it. I mean, Robsu might not see it that way, but they continue on. No terminal damage. This lap 28 of 31. We're closing down this race now and closing down Lawrence. It's Muhiti, but Lawrence is he just knows what he's doing. He's keeping that ERS margin. He's making better use of it.
Robsu and LB both out.
LB.
What happened?
I do not know what happened there. That one might be one for the stewards, because that looks like it's in the braking zone. I can't see the stricken cars, but oh dear.
What on earth? That is a very odd incident. Yeah, I think we'll definitely be looking at that. That's not ideal after they made contact earlier on as well, and that is huge news for the constructors as well, with Robsu out the race. Muhiti looking to the inside of Lawrence in the meantime, can't quite make the move, but he's still looking for the win. Here is the Williams driver.
He is. He's close to the back of Lawrence. He's just out of reach, almost, or just within reach, but he can't quite seal the deal. Not got the ERS to fight with, but somebody who does is Tier, but somebody who does even more so is Scott, who is a veteran of APP. Of course, he's won a fair few races in his time, knows what he's doing. He's got about 60% ERS in the tank, the most out of the top four, and is just sitting there on the back thinking, yeah, you guys race, you race to your ERS, I'll just sneak onto the podium. I don't have to race you too hard here. I'm not in the championship. I don't have to go for glory, but I'll be happy with a podium, says Scott, I'd imagine.
Yeah, for sure. And, well, JB's losing a lot of time to the back of these four, so Tier still might finish P4 after all of that, which would be, well, quite something if he can still finish ahead of JB. But there's so many points that Aston Martin have missed out on here after that crash. I don't think they were 90% yet, so they won't be classified. I don't think so. As Tier very deep there, and Scott right on the back of the Aston. It's a bit of a mistake, but not fatal for the British driver, but it is going to cost him time to JB, and another bit of a snap on the exit as Muhiti right on the back of Lawrence here. Can he make a move with DRS? He looks to the outside, brakes later, but Lawrence has the inside line and has the move, or has the place still as they go through. Lawrence with 20% ERS. I think if Lawrence runs out of ERS here, he's going to be vulnerable, even though Muhiti has none either.
Yeah, he is. The DRS will help Muhiti in those areas where he's slower than Lawrence, and Muhiti's been faster through those slower parts. But here we go. He's closing to the back of the AlphaTauri. He's going to send a move to the inside. Down he goes. Muhiti into the lead. Gets it done. Lawrence doesn't have an answer for it through the next couple of corners. Muhiti a little bit deep into there, but he leads the race once again. This is the penultimate lap of the race. He's got this one and one more to try and seal the deal, but it's switched now. It's changed. Lawrence is going to have the DRS coming down Raffles Boulevard as we go, and Lawrence now back into the lead, swapping places. The two leaders, and Tier's getting involved, Scott's getting involved. Scott might even be thinking, I might get myself a win here if it all goes my way.
Yeah, indeed. The top two, neither of them have any ERS left now. Muhiti with about 5% less, but it doesn't really matter when they're that low. But Muhiti's so much faster than Lawrence through the slow section of track, but a bit of a slide there on the exit, and how costly could that be? Tier looks to the inside, can't quite make a move, and Muhiti pushes Lawrence through the hairpin. It's so close between the two. Muhiti's definitely got the pace, but can he get past us now? Tier around the outside is going to cost Muhiti even more time, and he makes the move up to P2. He goes deep on the exit, but this is just what Muhiti didn't want to see, as Tier gets past up to P2. He does have those 6 seconds of penalties, but Muhiti is lost out.
Scott
Down the inside as well. He's gone for P2 here after penalties, and he's made it stick. Muhiti down to P4 after all of that. Looking like he was going to take the lead of the race. He's down to 4th place. Lawrence looks like he's going to take the win now, and Tier's up to P2, but Scott's going to take P2 as it stands.
Scott from another postcode sent it on Muhiti and just robbed him of that spot. in P3 there. He's still going to get it with the penalties, but Scott's going for Tier. He's been chasing him. I know the two of them are in a party chat, I'm pretty sure, and they'll be having some words later, I'd imagine. But wow, Scott, what an incredible move.
Incredible stuff from Scott. What a race from him as well. It's going to be back-to-back podiums in Tier 2 for the British driver. What a race he's had. Lawrence looks like he's going to take it because his main rival for this race win is now down in P4. How has it all gone so wrong for Muhizzi in the space of just a few corners? I do not know, but he's going to be absolutely gutted to miss out on this race win. Tier will finish P4. JB's too far behind now, but it's still a missed opportunity. There's contact. Muhizzi's hit Scott, and what's happened? What happened to the two of them? Scott's round and into the wall. How has that happened?
I did not see it. All I saw was Scott with a Williams attached to the back of him, and now he's in the wall. Oh, no. No.
Oh,
Tier's going for the lead on the final couple of corners, but Lawrence is going to fend him off. He's fought valiantly for the lead of this race, and he wins the Singapore Grand Prix with Tier coming on P2, and Muhizzi, when he snaps second, he will. But it's at the behest of Scott, who I think is not going to be too happy in the cockpit of that McLaren.
No. Oh, after it was looking like such a clean race, it's all gone wrong in the last few laps. And wow, well, Palang's going to come home in P6, but Lawrence takes the win. Muhizzi second for now, but is he going to get a penalty for that, I wonder, and promote Tier and JB up to the podium?
Oh. Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't be a happy bunny if I was Scott right now. But Palang crosses the line finally and finishes off this race. Only 6 finishers of the 11 drivers that started this race. Singapore has claimed many a driver today. JB getting driver of the day, which I think Scott deserves it, in all honesty.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's that one done. And yeah, I'm so looking forward to interviewing Scott as well.
Yeah.
He'd have been elation, but Lawrence on the podium once more carries on. It's a shame he's a reserve driver because he's always been up there in Tier 2, but he's just that little bit too quick, I think, and is over in Tier 1 now. But it's done an excellent job. I mean, if anything, Tier 2 has invited him the chance to learn without the line. But let's quickly move over to the chat. Are we? Oh, we are.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. Yeah, we should probably do that more often, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think the drivers know not to come and disturb us during the race.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll run you through the grid then. It's Lawrence coming out with the victory here in Singapore after a great battle with Muhizzi, Tier and the likes of the top drivers in Tier 2, with Muhizzi and Tier flanking the British driver on the podium. Then we have JBS Steve in P4, possibly a podium for him after stewarding, with Scott in P5, who will be absolutely livid with the fact that he lost out on that P2 after contact with the Williams of Muhizzi. Then there's Palang rounding off your finishers, with Robsu and LB not finishing the race. That'll be an interesting afternoon in the stewards room, with RJ Krause and Wasted rounding off the rest of the non-finishers.
Well, the game has classified the two of them, LB and Robsu, so I'll have a look at that.
VAR on that one.
Yeah, VAR on that one. But yeah, it could be crucial in terms of the constructors. But yeah, wow, what a crazy race that was. A little bit clumsy towards the last few laps, but at points we had some amazing racing.
Yeah, we did. I think just a little bit exciting, or a little bit too much excitement for some of the drivers, and perhaps just sending a few ill-advised moves, I'll say, but nothing that we can't sort out. We're just waiting for the drivers to get themselves in for some interviews. But another good race for Tier 2, I think.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting for Jacko and Lifebout, I think, in the stewards room.
Oh
But
yes.
well, onto Austin next week. And by the way, Sumo, what I said came to pass. Lawrence won and Tia came P3. So now we've got Crozer, Lawrence, and Tia all on 83 points.
Wow. There you go. Goes the the Oracle. He saw it coming in the stars. Oh god, I've just seen a picture of Robsu and LB on the. Oh, that doesn't look nice.
Yeah, I saw that one as well.
Oh dear. I think Muhiti has claimed full responsibility
He has
for
indeed.
Scott, so that's at least a thing. But I don't think Scott is overly thrilled in the chat. We're just waiting for everybody to pop in. But yeah, Muhiti definitely accepting blame on that one. And I think we're just waiting for one more. We're waiting for Tyr. Does take him a while to get into places when he's sat in the supermarket stealing their Wi-Fi. Little running joke there. We have between everybody, but
Well,
Lawrence is in. Yeah, we could start with Lawrence. Then, well, Lawrence, it was. Let's see, where did you come in qualifying? I can't remember.
P3, I think.
P3, yeah. So it was P3 in qualifying. It was a hard-fought battle as well with Muhiti. There was safety cars. There was some strategy involved as well. And well, I think the second half of the race, I suppose, you weren't given much breathing space. But just run us through it from your perspective.
Qualifying I thought went as well as it could do with no racing line. I hooked up a fairly decent-ish lap on my last run. The first two runs, I ran deep into a few of the corners at the end of the first DRS straight, and I think that new no, was it? It's the second DRS straight as well, that right-hander. No, sorry, the third DRS straight. Race went okay. I had better pace than I thought I was going to have around here. Once I managed to stick to the back of Muhiti, struggled towards the end of the first stint. He pulled out a bit of a gap, and the safety car came out and bunched us back up. And I think it was Robsu and Palang both stayed out, and I think Robsu was playing a teammate game to hold us up, so Tia could get through. And I noticed Muhiti and Robsu had a little bit. What was it? I can't remember which one. Had a little bit of a squabble. I just took my chance going. I think I tried to do a similar overtake on Friday into the left-hander. Is it a Singapore Sling?
Used to be.
Yeah.
Used to be. I took my opportunity there and got in front of Muhiti, and the rest worked out. And I think I overtook Robsu. I did outbrake myself, but thankfully managed to keep it within the white lines, and got ahead.
Yeah, it was a thrilling battle to watch between all of you after that first safety car. The four of you so close together in such tight areas of the track. There's a lot of examples of great clean racing, and that you can actually go side by side through Singapore, which I've always been an advocate for. But yeah, I mean, I guess just run us through your battle with Muhiti, I suppose, because it looked like Muhiti had the measure on you through a lot of those slower speed corners, but you had a bit more of an edge as far as exiting those corners was going. You had a bit more acceleration through. Was that the case? Was we observing that correctly?
Yeah, you was. I think hand over fist Muhiti was so much faster than me through sector 2. Anything I could pull out in sector 3 and 1, well, sector 1 and 3, he just pulled it back in sector 2, which made it a bit harder. I tried to conserve as much ERS as I could when I did. I think Muhiti had a great charge on me with about 2 laps to go. But thankfully, I just saved the ERS just to have a bit of the straight line speed. I did run less wing than usual. Around here, I was trying to compensate for that the new section. because it isn't obviously twisty as it used to be, so it's just a bit of a straight. So I had to reduce the wings a little bit, and yeah, I think that was what helped me stay ahead in the battle.
Yeah, well, it was a good battle to watch, and it was a great race overall. I think safety cars definitely brought some well needed life into it after that sort of first stint. But I think my last question is, what do you think of the new layout of the circuit? Did you enjoy it out there? Did you think it sort of has a bit more of a bit less of a break up at the track? What were your thoughts?
I quite enjoyed it. It was I felt it made the circuit flow so much better, and like you can carry, like you can feel like the extra speed you're carrying, even going into the last two corners. You can just tell the difference of that straight, which goes into the chicane, the right and left, the speed that you carry going into that, and when you come out of it as well, it's I think it definitely helps the track. I'd like to see a DRS zone there as well.
Yeah, was you tempted at any point to break at the old breaking point and turn right?
You know what? I was tempted in qualifying to to try and turn right, but no, knowing me, it would probably get missed, and yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That does add a bit more of a nice flow to the circuit, but I'm glad you enjoyed yourself out there. It was a good race to watch, and another win for you, Lawrence. Tied with the top two runners of the championship. So, you know, kind of reserve driver win the Tier 2 championship. We'll see. That would certainly be something. But well done this evening, and yeah, we'll hope we'll probably see you again next week, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it should be seeing me. Yeah, once again, thanks for your comms, guys. Thanks for the stream, and yeah.
No problem. Right, we'll hand over to Ghost then to interview Muhiti, and Scott Marshall was said in the chat, robbed. Ghost? Hello, Ghost.
I'm muted. Sorry. Hello. But yeah, Muhiti, saw in the chat that you were very apologetic. So I imagine you're mortified at what happened. But just talk us through what did happen there. Did you miss your braking point, or just a bit too overzealous into the corner?
No, like I say, I think it all started at the penultimate lap. I thought we were on the last lap, and Tyr was pushing on the last DRS straight. So I was like, I let him through, Lawrence. I can't catch him anymore. And Tyr has a penalty, so I will be P2 anyway. But because I did that, Scott came very close, and he overtook me in the last chicane. And then I realized it was not the last lap yet, so I had to push the last lap. All I had, because I didn't want Tyr to open the gap to more than 3 seconds. And I tried to stick as close as possible to Scott. And then after that bridge, the very tight corner, I think I braked where I braked the whole race. I don't know, maybe Scott, I haven't raced with him the whole race. He braked a little bit earlier. I didn't expect that, maybe. Because, yeah, I just wanted to push as much as I can on the straight so that Tyr couldn't pull the 3-second gap. But, yeah, there we had contact, and, yeah, ghosting doesn't work in this game. So I really, turned this car 180 degrees almost, so, yeah.
Yeah, it was a shame.
So I don't know, it's blame on me, but, yeah.
Yeah, it was a shame.
It's a bit hard one, yeah.
It was such a close and hard fought battle between all four of you in those last few laps. So a shame how it ended, but it's racing. These things happen sometimes. But I mean, as for the rest of your race, it was a titanic sort of battle of ERS usage between you and Lawrence for pretty much the entire race. But you were struggling for ERS for a lot of it. So yeah, just talk us through how you were feeling trying to catch up to Lawrence with that gap with about 1.1 seconds just when you needed it to be in the 1 second range.
Yeah, I don't know, a lot happened, but again, in Singapore, the first stint, I knew I would pull a gap, and Lawrence was hanging on very nicely, and like after a couple of laps, I was out, like he was out of my DRS as well, so I was like, okay, just drive now, save some ERS for later maybe, but then yeah, the safety car comes again, and I get frustrated again because of what happened last time around. And yeah, it was a virtual safety car, so I was like really slowing down because I have fears, I have traumas with virtual safety cars as well. And then, yeah, the gap I had with Lawrence, I think, shrinked a bit, and I was pissed off a bit. So, yeah, in the restart, everybody was then a bit closer to me, and I think they got me. Lawrence got me right away. And yeah, after that, I knew Lawrence was a bit faster on the straights. I tried to overtake him like on the third DRS straight, and the lap that I was like the closest to him, and I felt like, okay, now I have him. The full safety car came right as I was like almost alongside him, so I got even more annoyed there. And then, yeah, the whole rest of the race, I was like fully pushing all my ERS because I wanted to be P1, but yeah, maybe I have to be a bit cooler in my head, and yeah.
Yeah, well,
I know there happened so much. It's a bit chaotic. I don't remember everything, but it was very nice. The pressure from behind and putting pressure on Lawrence, it was really nice.
Yeah, it was a fantastic race to watch as well. So, well done on your P2. But yeah, I imagine you're slightly gutted to lose out on the win in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Lawrence led more of the race, so he deserves it. Maybe if the safety car didn't come, then I would say so. But yeah, GG to him, and yeah, thank you for the stream, and good job to everybody else who finished.
Well, yeah, congratulations on your P2, and hope to see you back in Austin next week.
Yep.
I'll hand over to Sumo to interview Tia, and I've unfortunately got to dash quickly, so I don't know if I'll be back in time for the end of the stream, but just to let you know.
No problem, Ghost. Well, Tia, you know, it was a fairly decent time in qualifying, I think, if I remember rightly, and then it was, well, the race started off well, and then the safety car came out and started shaking everything up. You got yourself a couple time penalties as per usual.
My wide car got in the way again, didn't it?
Yeah, and well, just about managed to scrape a podium together, but let's just run us through your race.
Yeah, it weren't too bad, to be honest. I think the first stint was all I was sort of keeping within just under 2 seconds. I think the car's in front. But then, don't know, the hards of that I felt quite good on and seemed to be able to keep up better. But yeah, it was quite fun, to be honest, that race. Especially with all four of us. I was gutted when I was crows. I don't know what happened to him behind, but that was getting quite interesting with all four of us. Until, I don't know, did he spin, I take it?
Yeah, I think he spun on his own. I don't think we quite caught what happened to Krauser, but it has meant that him, you, and Lawrence are all tied on 83 points. It's a three-way tie with 3 rounds left to go, which is quite fitting.
That'd be interesting. Nah, it's a lot better from racing performance anyway. I keep doing random things again.
Yeah, I mean, it was a close-fought battle though, and it got a bit intense towards the end. You fighting with Mahiti, and then Scott gunning for you as well, who says that you don't deserve this in the chat. But
I was in chat of it.
Yeah, I thought
I was very aware that I had 6 seconds, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. So I passed Mahiti, and then I couldn't really. I'm not going away, not that much. But then I heard Scott shout behind me, and I was like, oh, what's happened? So I wasn't really expecting it. But no, yeah, it was a more enjoyable race, to be honest. That was fun.
Yeah, it looked like it was a lot of fun out there on the track, and it was definitely there was some great little battles that I'm sure you'll be watching back later though. But have you got a game plan for the next 3 races? You just gonna try and not make any mistakes, or what's the thoughts?
Singapore, less practice, I did better. So I found like France and that. I got pole, came 7th, and all the other battles. Just, you know, if I don't practice, I've got nothing to do bad at. No, the USA is never been favourite there, to be honest. I quite like. I don't know what's the last race. Austria is the last race.
Yeah, I believe so. I think it's we've got Austin, then Canada, then Austria. So it'll be quite an interesting time, and there might be a few opportunities for some rain.
I mean, USA can probably write me out already because I'll probably have 12 seconds worth of penalty in their middle sector.
Oh dear.
But no, yeah.
I just don't practice is the consensus.
I think so, or just practice but not over practice.
Oh dear. I guess my final question as well will be the same one I asked Lawrence. But how did you find the new layout for Singapore?
Yeah, I quite liked it, to be honest. I didn't. Yeah. Just take. Yeah, a bit of like first few qualifying. That's about a bit weird. Because only yesterday I did a couple of TTs on it, so I was used to it being in there. So.
Yeah, that braking zone just for that right-hander into that twistier section. It's I had the same thing running around on time trial, but well done today then, Tier, on the podium again, and hopefully you can keep up a run of form, keep a challenge to Krauser, even keep Jonathan behind, maybe stop Lawrence from snatching the title as a reserve driver, but well, we'll see.
Nah, I think it's going to be fun. So as I said last time, everyone's really close on pace. Well, Mahiti was really fast in qualifying, actually. His pace, I was like, wow. But yeah, everyone overall this season has been very close, haven't they? It makes it quite fun.
Indeed. Well done tonight, Tier.
Yeah, cheers for the comms again. Catch you later.
No problem. Well then, as you've heard, it is of course Austin, the next round of the championship, and then we have Canada after that, and then we have Austria as the final round of the championship. But that's going to do us for this evening. It's been a great race to commentate on, and I hope it's been a great race for you all to watch. Thank you for everybody who has tuned in, left a like on the stream, and got involved on the live chat. All of the support does go a very, very long way. I very much appreciate it, and I'm sure Ghost does as well. Join us at the same time next week for some more action in Tier 2 as the championship continues to heat up at the top of the table. But until now, for now, I have been Sumo, and who has been Ghost alongside me as well. And we shall see you, well, Ghost will at least, at the same time next week for some more Tier 2 action. See you later, folks.